Little brown book come down the middle. Who's in Johnny? Who's in Johnny? Little brown book come down the middle. Long time ago, long time ago, long time ago. I said that little brown book come down the middle. Long time ago. Well, welcome to the Grapevine Harvest. I'm your host, Dan Ketting. And with me today we have a great performer, someone I've known for a long, long time. And she really embodies what the whole idea of the folk performer is all about, because she's not just someone who works with concerts, but she works in concerts, she works with students, she works in folk music, in storytelling, in dance, both as a dancer and as a caller. And I want you to welcome Julie Luther. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for making the trek all the way from the north countries of Madison.
Hey, I-39, it's exciting.
I-39. Now, is it true that even this time of year in May, there's still snow on the ground and the lakes are still frozen?
No.
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 It's not true.
No.
I'm lying.
Well, up north there is some still.
Still some.
Yeah, we had a hard freeze.
A hard freeze.
Hey, if you're a vegetable grower, it's a big deal.
That's true. That's true. We just put ours in last night, so. Well, what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is some of the variety of things that you do in the folk music world, not just as a performer, but also as an educator. You're one of those rare people that has been able to do so much with different aspects of your career. And I want to kind of touch on a little bit of everything. First, tell us how you got started in folk music. What interested you? What was it that drew you to folk music?
Well, it was a gradual thing. First and fifth grade, everybody got guitars for Christmas except me, and I suddenly discovered that it was a thing to do. I didn't know a thing about guitars, but suddenly I had to have one. And at that time, people like Joni Mitchell and Judy Collins and Simon and Garfunkel were becoming popular, and it was easy to play those sorts of songs. And when I was in about 8th grade, I picked up a Joan Baez double album called The Ballad Book, and I didn't know what a ballad was. It was just Joan Baez. I've heard of that. I bet I could sing these songs. You know, she has a nice voice. And some of these ballads said the word child and a number afterwards. And okay, you know, so you listen to it, and it's not a child's song. It's someone's getting knifed. And started learning about traditional ballads, and suddenly it was, there was this whole body of music out there that wasn't being played on AM radio, and it was a source of discovery. So that's how I got started.
Now, you also are a multi-instrumentalist. You play guitar, which you just told us you started at a young age, and you play banjo and dulcimer. What drew you to the other instruments?
Mostly just the sound. I would see the instruments, they looked interesting, but suddenly it was a craving. You'd hear a song. There was a song that I'd heard on a Helen Schneier album years ago, and I thought, boy, that would be great on banjo. I've never played it on banjo. When I finally got a banjo, I thought, I don't know the first thing about playing this, and it doesn't seem to work. And I should go back and try to figure that out again now, because I bet I could pull it off. But the banjo didn't automatically lend itself to that tune. But I had this need, this desire to fit that song with that sound.
Now, you started performing at a fairly tender age when it comes to performing. I know that for a fact. What was it like being that young, performing professionally, getting up in front of a coffee house crowd in Chicago?
God, my mind is a haze about it. You know, I was that young.
That's because it was a head wound, I think.
You know, and actually, when I was going to elementary school, one of the incentives for the nuns to encourage people to play guitar at school was to recruit them for the guitar mass. So you were up in front. And for me, it was mostly an excitement about some song, and then you say, I'm going to play this for some people. And I didn't want to just play the hits or the covers, as you call them, the music industry. I wanted to play more and more obscure songs. And it's a sort of a proselytizing to say, listen to this song, whether or not I'm singing it or somebody else is singing it. And I actually spent less time thinking about what it was like to perform in front of people at that time than I do now.
Did you find it difficult or different when you started performing for residencies with students? Because you're well known as a residency artist, both here in Illinois and up in the Dakotas. And was it a big difference for you to make that transition from a coffee house performer to really an educator.
No, I liked it. I liked it, and it didn't feel like there is a difference, but it didn't feel like a hard transition to make because, in a lot of ways, for me, it was more intimate. You could expect something from these students. They're a captive audience, but you could say, "Okay, sing along," and they would sing along more readily than the average audience would, and I could do things with them that were more two-way, and I really like that. I think that the educator, the teacher in me, has more freedom than in a traditional performing situation where you're standing up there and they sit and they look at you.
That's true.
and I found that I really do like the teaching, sharing mode more than the formal performance mode.
Great, good. Now I spy that there are several instruments out of their cases.
Stacked up within
easy reach.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to play the dulcimer for us?
Sure.
Now we've had, Mike Anderson has been on the show, but Mike didn't play the dulcimer when he was here. So you are our first dulcimer player that brought their instrument with them.
Mike is taking a new chapter in his professional life. Mike, formerly a professional dulcimer.
No, we were doing a show on children's music, and he just didn't bring it, just brought his guitar
Okay.
and his bones.
Interesting. Okay.
So, maybe you could tell us a bit about the instrument for those people who haven't seen one before.
It's a traditional Appalachian instrument. It's a fairly quiet instrument used mostly to accompany songs as opposed to instruments like fiddle and guitar, which could accompany songs but also had a lot of carrying power, so you could play them for dances. There is a bit of mystery about the history of the dulcimer. There are similar instruments in Europe. Nobody knows quite how the instrument ended up being called the dulcimer and ending up in Appalachia and so forth. There's been a revival of interest since the late 60s, so that people like me are, more popular folk revivalists playing the dulcimer. It's a great accompaniment instrument. There are lots and lots of different tunings. It is both its charm and its curse, that it is very easy to play it immediately, but if you want to play blues or jazz or this or that, you end up having to do more circuitous things to get the notes that you need, changing tunings and things like that.
Great. It's a beautiful instrument.
Well, thank you.
Well, let's hear a song now.
Okay. Well, the educator in me says, especially with these folk songs, if they're obscure folk songs, you got to have some understanding of what's going on with it. And I'll sing you one that's really boring, unless you're in the situation where you're trying to sing it. This is a song I found in a book of folk songs collected in eastern Canada, Nova Scotia. And the song has its traditional roots in England, no doubt. There's an English song called One Man Shall Mow My Meadow, and it's a pretty genteel song. This is the upbeat version of it, where you are simply counting. It's a contest song. You are counting how many people it takes to mow the hay. Back before you had machinery to count on, it was not an easy chore to get your hay in. And so what you did was you counted forwards and backwards, and I'll sing you a few of the verses. We will not have time for all of the verses. It goes on until you make a mistake, and then you start all over again, supposedly. And at the end, I'll tell you what the highest number is I've ever gotten to. Me one man, me two men, they mow me down a meadow. Me three men, me four men, they mow me hay away. Me four and me three and me two and me one, and it's high lots more. Mow me hay and they take it away on a beautiful midsummer's day. Me five men, me six men, they mow me down a meadow. Me seven men, me eight men, they mow me hay away. Me eight, me seven, me six, me five, and it's high lots more. Mow me hay and they take it away on a beautiful midsummer's day. Me 9 men, me 10 men, they mow me down a meadow. Me 11 men, me 12 men, they mow me hay away. Me 12, me 11, me 10, and me 9, and it's high lots more. Mow me hay and they take it away on a beautiful midsummer's day. 13, me 13 men, me 14 men, they mow me down a meadow. Me 15 men, me 16 men, they mow me hay away. Me 16, me 15, me 14, me 13, and it's high lots more. Mow me hay and they take take it away on a beautiful midsummer's day.
Oh, it's
You
great.
get the idea.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
wonderful.
Usually I take it up higher and you have the audience sing along, and in theory, yes, you're supposed to stop and start all over again when you make a mistake. And I also think part of the tradition is stop, taking a drink of something a little stronger than water, and then starting over again, which does not improve your chances of getting any better. I was in one school where I told them that whoever got to the highest numbers was considered to be a pretty cool dude, and this one fellow took on this look that said, I'm in trouble. Me, I'm in trouble, not him. He was going to cause me trouble. So we went higher and higher. All the other students gave up, started nodding off, and not Harold. And finally, I started thinking, I'm a little older than he is. Do I want to spend the rest of my life trying to be cooler than Harold? So at about the number 75, I made a mistake, and Harold Takes the Gun became a cooler dude.
All right. Very good. That was awfully nice of you to let
Yeah,
Harold
yeah, it was
do
awfully
that,
nice of me to stop at 16 here. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Now, I wanted to ask you about another facet of your career, and that's the folk dance.
Okay.
Because I know that you've not only called dances, but you're a dancer. Prairie Grapevine's had you down here to do dance workshops. And also, you've actually written some dances, too. What got you interested in that part of it? Because I know a lot of the ballad singers that I hang around with, the
Yourself included, yeah.
Yeah, self-included. The dance world is not always the next thing that we're ready to jump into,
Well, I wasn't either. I was pretty interested in songs first, and then instruments to accompany the songs, and not thinking of instruments as playing instrumentals. I remember years back picking up an album of French-Canadian fiddle tunes, and they all sounded the same to me. Now they don't. But I had gotten to know some musicians up in the Twin Cities who were starting to play for a contra dance series, New England contra dancing. I didn't know what contra dancing was. They told me there was this dance coming up, and they encouraged me to attend, and I thought, well, sense of obligation, guess I'll have to go. And I got roped into dancing, and I thought, I don't know about this. And I actually found that I had a good time. I enjoyed myself and started going to more and more dances. New England contra dancing, Irish ceilidh dancing, Southern square dancing, a bit different than the Western club-style square dancing, and started really understanding more about how the music and the dance relate to the music, songs and so forth and so on, and it's not this deep division. There is a fair amount of overlap between the songs and the dance and the music and so forth. They're all related, different versions of the same thing, you might say. And just became interested in calling. It's another way to exercise an interest in these things. And it's also another way to, in a sense, perform without the spotlight being on me. It's analogous to going into a classroom where you're teaching and you see immediately how people are participating with this. In a sense, when I call for contra dances, I'm standing up in front of a bunch of people, but I'm working as a team with other musicians, and they're, the music is the spark and the life of the dance, and I'm guiding people through it. It's my responsibility to give them the clearest directions I can, and then hopefully they'll have a good time, and I can see immediately if that's working or not. And I
oftentimes
like that.
you see them kind of bouncing off each other and off walls and
Yeah,
stuff.
we have what we call the decapitation derbies. And, no, I try to avoid those. There are people who go for, let's just all break loose here and see how wild and crazy we can get. I'm not as fond of that sort of thing, but within particular styles, as you learn more about the dances and what works, there's an intricacy in the dances that I like. So.
Could you demonstrate
something? Yes.
Since you have your shoes on and
sure,
this board here.
Yeah, can't demonstrate a New England contra dance because that would take about a dozen people.
Well, I'm sure that the cameramen wouldn't mind coming in and helping out.
They wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't. Do they know the difference between right hand and left hand?
No, they're
helps.
cameramen. They don't know that.
Okay, well.
They're all ambidextrous, every one of them.
Yeah.
Left, right. They can do
Good,
everything
good.
with both hands.
And
One of
you-
them can do it with his feet.
And you?
I can't do anything.
Okay, right.
No, I'm totally
Well,
dance. What do they call it? I have a dance learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, in hanging out with people who are playing instrumental music, fiddle and banjo, and going to dances and such, you see people do things like clogging, and there's the hee-haw stereotype of clogging, which, the performers who were on programs like that were very good musicians and dancers. Unfortunately, they were decked out in clothing that was unflattering to the tradition,
That's true.
And but in spending time with people who were doing dance and so forth, one of the types of dance that I saw being done, besides Irish step dancing and so forth, I've learned a bit of that, was waltz clogging, done in French Canada and in England. And they use hard-soled shoes and a hard wooden floor. And it was a way of using feet as a percussive instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And waltz clogging, going along with waltz music, has a grace and a delicacy that standard Appalachian clogging, or clogging that people are used to seeing, for me, lacks. It still has power and energy, but I'll show you a couple of steps. We have this piece of Philippine mahogany plywood here, salvaged from home remodeling. You make use of whatever you have. Anyway, so if you picture a waltz beat, in waltz clogging, there's a sort of an introductory step that's, and then there's some sort of variation step, like, and then you go back to that introductory step, and then you repeat that break, and then there's an ending step, just to show you the pattern to watch for. So if I demonstrate the whole thing. Ending step. Moving. You get the idea. You put variations in the middle, and then you come back to that beginning step.
I think any of the cameramen could do it. I couldn't do that. No.
You could try.
No, we could.
You could show us a valiant effort.
A valiant effort? No. No, it'd be bad for my image to fall over, because I saw that one thing where you crossed over and you stamped. I saw myself stamping on my own foot and falling over. So,
We'll work.
I'll work on it. Next time you come, I'll have it down. And
You're blushing at the
that's
moment.
right. How to embarrass the host. How about that thing?
Instrument of destruction.
That's right. What do they call it? The War Club of American Folk Music?
That's great. I went into a class, 8th graders, first thing in the morning. The teacher, before the students come in, go, "Oh, this isn't a very motivated class you're going to be meeting with." And I'm going, "Oh, great. First thing in the morning, 8th graders, and we're going to come in with banjo. This is great." I just decided, you do what you can, you keep it light, instead of trying to work them hard. Why? Pay attention. You kind of go with it. So I said, pulled out the banjo. These kids are looking at me like, I said, a lot of people make fun of the banjo. I said, the only instruments people make more fun of are accordion, tuba, and bagpipes. I said, so when you go out of here and you tell your friends, she played the banjo for us, I said, just remember, could have been accordion, tuba, or bagpipes. And they seemed to get into that idea. So,
Well, I know what the difference between a banjo and a trampoline is. You take your shoes off before you jump on the trampoline.
I see, yeah, and the difference between a banjo and an onion.
Oh, no.
No one cries when you cut up a banjo. Yeah.
Very good.
Anyway, and I know quite a few banjo players. Again, the kind of banjo playing that a lot of people hear when they get to hear it these days is typically bluegrass banjo playing, where you're playing a lot of individual notes very quickly in what they call rolls. You're playing back by the bridge, and you're trying to see how many notes you can play
Right.
in succession. And that's a more contemporary style. There's some older styles that are related to that, but I play an even older style, sometimes called frailing, sometimes called clawhammer. There are shades of difference, and actually every little hill and holler had its own player, and so even when you say I play this style, I'm referring to you
Sure.
know, sort of an amalgam of different styles. I'll play you a tune that actually didn't start out as a banjo tune around here, but I sort of arranged it to accompany a song I learned from a book of Illinois Ozark folk songs and dances and singing games and such, collected by David McIntosh. And there's a little snippet of a song in there that was collected from a couple in Carlisle in 1947. One of the things that I really like doing is I like uncovering songs. It's a lot of fun to not be playing the same thing everybody else is, and trying to uncover little gems and make use of them. And so this is not only a fun song in its own right, but it goes over very well in schools. Said the blackbird to the crow, "You're not a blackbird, I don't know. Ever since you've been born, you've been accused of pulling up corn. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, and Y, and Z." Said the blackbird to the crow, "If you're not a blackbird, I don't know. Ever since you've been born, you've been accused of pulling up corn."
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And now that's an Illinois song.
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
And who knows where it started out or who started it out or whatever. But I haven't heard anybody else sing it. I haven't seen it show up in any other books. And it's a great little song that
It
will
is.
just be lost in these dusty pages.
Now, how do you go about finding your songs? Because I know your repertoire is one that lends itself to songs that people don't normally know. I've noticed that when I've seen you perform, you'll always throw in a new song, and I go, God, where's that from? Where did you get that?
And I've learned a lot of my better songs from books in your collection, too, or
Yeah.
recordings or whatever. I've always got my antenna up. Well, they're out of sight now, but I've always got an eye out for songs that are a little bit unheard of. And they have to appeal to me. They have to have some sort of spark or interest. The one that I sang on dulcimer, I remember seeing it in the book and going, well, this looks okay. And then I'd be reading through the music and going, this is going nowhere. And it wasn't until it really gelled that, you know, I picked up the speed and I put some life into it that I went, oh yeah, this is a fun song. But sometimes you read it through and you go, I don't know, this looks pretty boring. It's hard for it to come to life off the page, sometimes even for me, and I have to go back a few times and try it out in different ways. There's an example of a song I can give you that someone years ago gave me some books that were published in the 1820s. That's the last time they were published.
Whoa.
And yeah, they're pretty neat. And one is no music whatsoever, just song after song, words. Just words. And a lot of the writing was, I mean, they were not traditional songs. Somebody was writing prose for these songs, and a lot of it was pretty bad. And yet I ran across, I mean, from my point of view it was, somebody else, you know, might see some of it and think, yeah, this is nice. But a lot of the writing was pretty turgid. But there was one song written up in there, that, again, there's no melody. And who knows exactly who printed these things up, but at the time, broadside ballads were pretty popular, meaning somebody would take an existing melody or sometimes make up a new melody and put words to it about whatever, print up copies and sell them out on the street corner. And this song was, or the words to the song in the book, was called The Ballad Seller, referring to somebody standing out on the street hawking these songs. And it was too enchanting of an idea to let go of. So I wrote a melody, which is probably nothing like the original, but I'll sing you that.
Great.
If we have time.
Well, if we have a few minutes, yeah.
A few minutes, okay. It's quick. Here are catchy songs and glees, some are 20 for a penny. You shall have whate'er you please, take your choice for there are many. Here is Nan of Gloucester Green. Here's the lily of the valley. Here is Kate of Aberdeen. Here is Sally in our alley. Here is Mary's dream, poor Jack. Here's the tinker and the tailor. Here's Bow Wow and Paddywhack. Tally-ho, the hardy sailor. Here's Dick Duck, the hardy blade, and Dick Waddle and the grinder. And I've got the cottage maid, confound me though if I can find her. Drinking songs to hear abound, Phoebe Philpot fill the glasses, and why stand the glass around? Here's a health to all the lasses. Here's come let us dance and sing, and what's better far than any? Here's God save great George our King, hearts of oak in rural Britannia. Here are catchy songs and glees, some are 20 for a penny. You shall have whate'er you please, take your choice, for there are many.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and you can tell the English origins of it, you know,
Yeah.
Hearts of Oak in rural Britannia, you know.
Great
Yeah,
song.
but it's just this neat little catalog, singing
Wow.
catalog.
Now, do you think when you're, do you foresee in the future, just a quick answer on this one because we are running out of time, but do you foresee that the folk music, especially with the work that people like yourself are doing in schools, do you think it's going, if not have a renaissance, is it always going to be there on the fringe of our musical experience?
I would like to think so, but to what extent and what role it plays, you want a short answer on this. It's really hard to say. I mean, there's such things as popular media that make people much more passive in their taking part in things. I think right now, unfortunately, there are people who think, oh, folk music, and they pick to this lowest common denominator, 3 chords, and you can play a million songs. Well, that's part of the charm of folk music, but I also think that there are a lot of folk musicians who are technically and musically exceptionally good, and yet it's harder to find those people, and those people have to